It's the Pregame Pod. I'm Matt Ryan, and this week on the show, we take a look at what's going on in Florida as the Nightcrawlers are in action, and also, we get a look around the league from Zach Morgan. Ron Clark opens up Clark Video to break down the Snow Tribe, that and so much more here on the Pregame Pod. But first, let's go back to the 3-on-1 podcast, where me, Big Rob Fabian, and Corey Hammond talked about, even though they beat the Renegade, the Patterson U were still number 6 on our 3-on-1 top 10.
Again, wasn't the greatest win we've ever seen from the U. You know, definitely surprisingly struggled in the earlier parts of the game, but low numbers, a lot of injuries. Again, having to deal with BIC the week before and then going against a Renegades team that wasn't really trying to lay down in the beginning of the game. You had a Corey Hammond run for a touchdown, which again, what the hell was that? That was shocking. But again, it's a game I expected. Slow start, finish strong, slow start. But at the same time, they handled business. And, the thing is, the reason why they're so low, they dropped from, basically the upper echelon to, kings of the mid-tier right now because, hey, they have a loss. And honestly, most of the teams that are in front of them don't. And it really is as simple as that,
Are undefeated. Yeah.
Right.
Now, what did you guys get from, because, shout outs to Quattro Huffin, who is kind of recovering. He's got his eye on the prize, I think. And the thing about the A7FL season, the regular season is super important, but there is a long journey to get to the eventual destination. I think Huff definitely has his sights set on that destination. But he came up into the booth during that game and kind of gave you guys some insight. The defensive possessions in that game were still a little bit too painful for me to watch in full. So I'm just going to be, full kayfabe there. But what was he saying to you guys as some of the insight and what he was seeing this weekend as he was gracing his presence up there in the booth? Given.
He was talking about you a fair amount, actually. But having Huff outside in the booth, it was a really interesting and unique perspective, but you saw the difference in how the Patterson U played football. And with what they have left on the schedule, and you have a guy like Willie Easterling having a day like he did, 4 touchdowns, over 200 yards rushing, one of the most dynamic days I think we've seen from him in quite a while. And then you have Mims, and you have the opportunity with Kareem Moon to break big plays open, and even without Huff or even Jason Sisson in the lineup, you had Sadiq Pitts, who played a dynamic role on offense and defense, especially as we get deeper and deeper into the schedule. Corey, what's your take on this?
Well, the U left, they have Snow Tribe and Buzz, right? So, they have on that roster, even that showed up on Sunday, they have the formula to take care of business against those teams more than likely, right?
1,000%.
So I don't think that they're necessarily in, the danger zone of really sliding in the standings. But if they do win out, correct me if I'm wrong, they would be the presumptive 2 seed, right?
Yeah.
And if craziness happens and BIC loses to the Watchmen and there's some kind of differential thing,
now we're in trouble.
The U hypothetically could backdoor themselves into a number 1 seed.
Indeed.
And of course, you can listen to the 3-on-1 podcast wherever podcasts are sold, or right here on A7FL.TV. Right now, let's go on over to Ron Clark and Clark Video as he gives us a look at the Snow Tribe before an all-important game against the East Orange Renegades.
Thank you, Matt. I'm not going to sit here and say Kills is the problem for Snow Tribe, because he's not. If you watch film, you'll see Kills is a very good game manager. He barely turns the ball over, and that's what you need in a quarterback that doesn't turn the ball over. The play calling is there on the offensive side of the ball. They just have to execute. They have the players, they have the key pieces, just make it work. I feel as if Snow Tribe needs help on the defensive side of the ball. They need another linebacker to complement Rondo. Rondo is a good safety that comes down and really tackles real well, but they need another linebacker to help him out. Oh, I'm not even gonna lie. Since Rondo could tackle, they could put him down the linebacker and get another safety if they can't find another linebacker. Either way, they need somebody to complement Rondo in the middle of the field. Joker also said it on my podcast as well. You have to buy into what the leader is saying. So whether you go with Kills or whether you go with Young Bull, buy into what your leader is saying and execute. And to clear it up before anybody says anything, when I say find another linebacker, I mean somebody in that roster step up. And at 4 o'clock versus the Renegades, I hope you guys figured it out, because it should be a good one. Thanks for having me, Ryan, and back to you in the shipping container.
Thanks, Ron. This is the Pregame Podcast. I'm Matt Ryan. Let's continue our whip around the league as we go to the Midwest. Chris Schreiber, what do you got for us?
What's going on, everybody? Chris Schreiber here, the voice of the A7FL Cincinnati division, here to bring you a quick look at what is sure to be an exciting Week 5 here in the Midwest. Throwing off for our 1 p.m. game, the Covington Heist look to get back on the winning side of things versus the Queen City Crush. The Heist dropped their first game of the season last week and had some costly injuries along the way, but look for that Heist defense to carry the load on Sunday. Anchored by Tamar Tay Moose Miller and company, they look to be disruptive in the Crush backfield. As for the Crush, quarterback Tyler Pennington is looking to keep the Crush's 2-game win streak alive, but he will be without starting running back Ryan Walriven. Pennington threw for 141 yards and 2 touchdowns last weekend, but will that be enough to stop the number 2 Heist? As for our 4 p.m. game, we have the undefeated number 1 ranked Sin City Chaos taking on the Indianapolis Octane. The Chaos look to continue their reign of dominance here in the Midwest by attempting to make quick work of the newbies in the division, but the Octane have other plans. Quarterback Logan Wall looks primed for his second career start in the A7FL, but all eyes should be on this matchup. The Chaos's Drizzy Drape Hope and the Octane's James Mitchell. Mitchell went off last week on both sides of the ball with 4 total touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Mitchell is arguably the best weapon for the Octane, but Dre Pope has been a consistent defensive playmaker in the A7FL since joining last year. This season, Dre has 12 total tackles, 5 pass breakups, and 2 interceptions, but don't let that stat line fool you. Quarterbacks definitely think twice before throwing Pope's way. We've got some exciting football lined up for you here in Cincinnati and across the country. Let's send it back to Matt Ryan and the rest of the 3-on-1 podcast as we get set for Week 5.
Now we have a bit of a parlay with Woody Ness Charles as he gives us his view of the Nightcrawlers and the Orange here on the Pregame Pod.
Hello, everybody. My name is Woody. I am your host of the parlay. I am running solo today. My co-host Joey is not here with me, but I am here to provide you guys a preview of the matchup we have going on down here in A7FL Florida. We have a rematch of a few weeks ago back on April 7th. Tampa Nightcrawlers played the O-Town Orange. Before we even get started, I want to give an apology. I know you guys can hear my voice, but there was no way I was letting the week go by without giving you guys this preview. So we saw a close to a fully loaded Tampa Nightcrawler team come out and put 74 points on the board. Gave up 12, but I think that's more indicative or a shout out to the O-Town Orange for the fight they have and the impact players they have. But we'll start on the Tampa Nightcrawler side. The Tampa Nightcrawlers came out. They had both the Ricos out there. They had Rico Brown and Rico Holmes. Rico Holmes, formerly an O-Town Orange member, now made the switch over to the Nightcrawlers and provided tons of big plays, including a 99-yard run for a touchdown. So big shout out to Rico Holmes coming out, making his debut this week and last week, and providing such a big play, big spark. They had another player with 45, caught 2 interceptions. One was called back, unfortunately, so he had the one interception at the very first play of the game. That was Dominic Rogers-Cromartie. So not sure if that was him out there making those plays. Unfortunately, they didn't have everything properly on the roster check. But as I checked the roster, number 45 is Dominic Rogers-Cromartie. So that player that I'm talking about with the 2 interceptions very well may have been him. So on to the O-Town Orange's side. O-Town Orange provided a very strong showing as best they could. I noticed they did not have their normal quarterback there when they played against the Orlando Ghosts. Their normal quarterback was not out there. They came out there, they started with 2 different guys. Quentin Smith was not there that week. Not sure if he's hurt. We saw he was against the Orlando Ghosts. We're back on Easter night. So let's see what happened. Huncho came out there, and he wasn't there the first drive, I believe, but he came out there and definitely provided a spark. So between him and Mozzie, it's very interesting to see if they can get those 2 guys going. They have 2 very strong weapons. It seems like right now the question is at quarterback, who can get those guys the ball to make those plays. So it's interesting to see what they do the second time around. Can they find ways to scheme those guys the ball on time? Are those guys going to be there on time to make sure that they're able to make those plays? Can that offensive line probably give the quarterback a little bit more time in order to find these guys? So these are all questions that will be answered this Sunday when they play against each other. Appreciate you guys. Thank you very much for listening. My name is Woody. This is the Parlay, available everywhere.
Finally, in our look around the league, we go to Dub Alvarez as he gets a look at Week 5 in Nevada after a very interesting announcement to start the week.
Thank you, Matt. It's been winds of change inside A7FL Nevada. As we learned, the pit bosses and the hunters will become one, and the gold and the kryptonite would become one. How will that affect playoff seeding and playoff teams that have playoff aspirations? At 1 p.m., how will OTT bounce back after getting their first loss of the season? The champs, the Insomniacs, stand in their way. In the game of the week time slot, it'll be the newly formed pit bosses. Tough test ahead. They take on a force team looking to build momentum after getting their first win of the season. And in the nightcap, the newly formed gold, also with a tough task as they play a very focused, determined, championship-minded, sick-witted team. If you can't join us at Mater Academy, join us on A7FL.tv with myself, Scott the Viking McCorkle, and Schoolhouse Rock Chris Vera, bringing you all the action from Mater Academy today. Matt Ryan, back to you.
We take a look around the A7FL and we start off in Ohio. It was the battle for the Natty, and with 15 seconds left in the first, it would be the Chaos who would put 6 on the board. Slip, slide, wave, bye-bye. And the Chaos, the reigning division champions, all white last Sunday. Trying to put a little cherry topper on that one, but a little too early as the Heist would strike back and they would get on the board to make this 6-6. And right now, if you're a Chaos fan, you've been seeing how good this Heist team has responded all season long. They have been keeping stride, but then with 1:14 left to go in the second, another late quarter score for the Chaos, this time a short little run in. And trying to chef things up is the Sin City Chaos. They would go up and make this game a 1-score game heading into the half. And we see it there again on that replay, but the Chaos in the third quarter would not waste much time, as again they would go from inside their own 10 to the end zone, trying to set themselves apart from the Heist. They steal another 6 from Covington to put that one up on the board, making it 20-7. And you guys have to feel the energy of these Sin City players. And then the Heist wouldn't take long to respond themselves. Play action. Lawn darts this one to the man in the green. Slip, slide, take it to the house. Makes it a 1-possession game again. That toss to number 2, putting 6 on the board. And, well, hopefully that didn't cost us the building, but makes it 20-13. And the end score would be 27-13. The Heist would let this one get away from them. They're 0-3 all-time against the Chaos, but the Sin City Chaos have the highest net points in the league, and the Octane take on the Chaos at 4 p.m. The next stop on the look at Week 4 was the game of the week out in Nevada, as the Vegas Force, looking for their first win of the 2024 campaign, striked first against the OTT, who were walking into this one 2-0 on the regular season and facing their first real test. But the one thing you don't want to test the OTT on is the return game, the 3-on-1 throw-off. since the OTT have come in the league, have been one of the most dynamic teams. And watch this, from the corner of the end zone, inside the 10-yard line in the corner near the end zone, slip slides, sees nothing but green in front of him. He burns the turf pellets as he makes this one a 6-0 game. The OTT looking to go stride for stride with the first Nevada Division champion, the first team from the West to play in the Northeast and beat a Northeast team. And the OTT looking to shock the world here last Sunday. But then up 8-6, the OTT are backed up. The Force at the goal line. Quick handoff into the end zone. And the Force would take the lead back. And this would get a little bit long for the OTT because the Force would get on a 3-on-1 throw-off in the second quarter on the punt return. Slides that one in, and it would be a 2-score lead for the Force as heading into halftime. The blue and red were shining like cherry tops. And again, to add on to it, a quick handoff, slip slide. The Force offense was humming. This was the team that was giving the Insomniacs the business in week 1. And then we see first and goal, 51 seconds. That throw inside, finding the seam. And the OTT continuing to fight with 45 seconds left to go in the first half. And then on the 3-on-1, the man is so fast, he blurs the screen, cuts through the defender, and that one is academic, AP level running to make this a little bit further away and dancing on him. Not a David Tender gritty, but still a pretty impressive dance there. And then the Force again having their will be and not impeded. Another long touchdown for the Force as their offense, passing the ball and running the ball, were doing anything and everything to get on the board, but the OTT still finding holes in that Force defense to get to the 1-yard line to make it 38-20 with under 7 minutes left to go in the fourth, but the punctuation mark, the throw to Webb into the corner, a Webb gem, as the Force will get their first win of the 2024 campaign and walk out with a 44-20 win over the OTT. The OTT still in the third spot in Nevada. That's their second straight 2-1 start. They were voted number 10 in the top 10 after their 2-0 start, but that was the narrowest win for the Force since 2022. Their 15th in points scored and allowed, and we'll see them against the Pit Bosses at 4 p.m. Pacific time. The first two teams to battle for the Nevada Division Championship face-off, that's at 4 o'clock on A7FL.tv. And finally, we take a look at the Animals taking on the Snow Tribe. Took until the early portion of the second quarter for our first score, but it would be the Ghost getting that ball from David Tender to make it 6-0. They'd get the extra point to make it 7-0. But then there you see it there, Ghost finding his way down the street, sliding through defenders. No, sir, unhand me. Slip, slide, and he would end up being brought down inside. Would not score on that play, but on the very next play, the handoff in there, touchdown, 2-score lead, as that Tender to number 2 combination, that Tender to Diaz, is a big combo, but Mike Liberti, the veteran, putting 6 on the board for the Snow Tribe, making it a 1-score game. But then David Tender would find the inseam and cut right on through, and he would slowly trot in to continue the lead for the Animals. As you see him there, the rookie quarterback stepping in for Bebo Rios. You see him and Diaz, 4 + 2 = 6. Are they the next big combination here in the A7FL? And then the play that I have been thinking about and talking about all week long, David Tender from inside his own end zone, going goal line to toss to Diaz, and then 25-7. The camaraderie, the friendship, the excitement from this Animals offense is palpable, and you can see it here on this run. Tender finding it. The Snow Tribe defense not getting any help in the secondary. And then the only thing that David Tender sees, aside from he has to his right, is the end zone in front of him and that end zone camera. He would slip, he would slide, he would toss this ball to his teammate as they would take it to the house and make it 25-7. And you can see the adulation from inside their own end zone. Up 19-7 towards the end of the half. Just completely with schoolyard abandon. And that was in the third quarter, 27-13. They got the extra point. And then, driving on through, the ball would bounce out, but Ghost would reappear and get another set of points on the board for the Animals. And your final score would be 41-19. The Animals would move up to 2-1. The Snow Tribe 0-3. Liberty had 80 yards on the ground, 2 tackles and a sack. David Tender threw for 179 yards while rushing for 193 yards. They play the Buzz down in Baltimore, while the Renegades will take on the Snow Tribe in our 4 p.m. matchup a little bit later today on the Games of the Week. That was the scoreboard of the big games across the A7FL this week. Let's get more scores from Zachary Morgan. Zach, what's it looking like after week 4?
Taking a look at some action from around the league, in the Midwest, the Indianapolis Octane topped the Columbus Explorers 25-20, and the Volcanoes fell to the QC Crush 36-12. Over in Vegas, the Pit Bosses shut out the Gold 44-0, Siquidit beat the Hunters 40-6, and the Kryptonite proved to be no match for the Insomniacs, losing 69-6. And in the Northeast, the Trenton BIC took down the DC Buzz 49-6, and the Patterson U edged out the East Orange Renegades 50-18. With the A7FL Northeast Division, I'm Zachary Morgan.
Let's take a look at the standings in the Northeast. The Trenton BIC are 4-0. The Patterson U are 3-1. Baltimore Watchmen and Silk City Animals are both 2-1. Big matchups for both a little bit later on today. And these guys may battle for the 3 seed at the end of this season. The Buzz 1-2. The Snow Tribe 0-3. And the Renegades looking for a very important win against the Snow Tribe. They are 0-4. That it's the Insomniacs at the top of the list. They are 4-0. The Siquidit remain 3-0. They are undefeated. The OTT took their first loss of the season against the Force. The Force are 1-2. So are the Pit Bosses. And the Vegas Gold at the bottom of the pile. They are 0-3. We take a look now in the Midwest. And with the Chaos at the top of the ladder, the Heist 3-1 after the Battle of the Natty. The Crush and the Octane both 2-2. And the Explorers and the Volcanoes at 0-3. Really interesting to see the Octane step up. They play the Chaos a little bit later on today. Chris Schreiber will be on the call for that one on A7FL.tv. And enough talking. I've done enough chatting here. It's time for throw off on the other side of this break. It's been the pregame pod. I'm Matt Ryan. We'll see you on the field for week 5 of the A7FL. Hey, it's Matt Ryan from the 3-on-1 podcast. If you're not tired of hearing me, Corey, and Rob talk every single week on the games of the week, then you should listen to the 3-on-1 podcast every Friday on your favorite podcast feed, A7FL.tv, and the A7FL YouTube channel. The 3-on-1 podcast. You probably have better things to do, but let's be serious.